The mystery of Jura's identity is something that could turn around the whole plot of Boruto. Last time we discussed how Gaara might be involved in the creation of this creature, and today we will understand the role of Kawaki in the birth of Jura, along with some more interesting Shinju theories. So let's begin. Destiny and fate are the plot points that are reflected in the majority of Boruto's story. The protagonist seems to be not fighting any particular enemy or villain, rather his own destiny which has betrayed him, while his counterpart Kawaki seems to have a less intriguing life, especially during the time skip. Something interesting has happened in the second chapter, leading Kawaki into a vortex type of situation. Now the reason I call it a vortex has something to do with his destiny, but let's first take a look at this incident. So before the Ten Tails actually evolved into the Shinjus, it was revealed some claw grimes have gotten way more stronger than others. One such superior grime attacked Kawaki off guard, and the most iconic thing about him was the Rinnegan. Now this moment right here is what must have led to the birth of Jura, the dominant Shinju. The awakening of Rinnegan by the grime must have granted him its abilities as well. One such power of the Samsara Eye is the Petra Path, which grants the user the ability to absorb chakra in any form through physical contact. So in simple terms, by stealing Kawaki's chakra in this scene, the Ten Tails manifested itself into Jura, while all the source humans of other Shinjus have turned into a tree. There is a really good reason explaining why just the chakra of Kawaki was enough to create Jura. The body of an Otsutsuki has been an evolutionary medium of the Ten Tails for millions of years, so their chakra combined with the claw marks of code, leading to the formation of an outlier divine creature, makes a lot of sense. Some other hints to deduce Kawaki is the origin point of Jura are also way too interesting. But before I get there, I hope you hit the sub button to never miss any of my future uploads. The Shinju seem to be a part of a collective consciousness since they arise from the Ten Tails, but they also have a unique consciousness which stems from their human counterparts. It has created a devouring instinct in them which makes them go after the person whom their source human admired the most. In Jura's case, he chose Naruto as his target, the person whom Kawaki loved the most. But that's not everything. Both of them gave the exact same pose as Ishiki while flying, and they also seem to be the only characters who hide their hands in pockets. Jura's character design is also similar to Ishiki or Jigen, who had a past with Kawaki. Now this past or history thing is what will lead us to Kawaki's vortex of fate. There are some speculations that Jura's creation solely relies on this action of Kawaki from the second chapter. He used the karma against the superior claw grime, and as we know the karma is what stores the Otsutsuki data. This explains why Jura looks similar to Ishiki. But what if I told you there is something in the concept of karma which describes the real reason of Shinju awakening? So karma basically refers to the principle of cause and effect, where the actions of a person have consequences in this life and potentially future lives. Good deeds create positive karma, while bad deeds create negative karma. The future lives in this principle is a reference to the concept of reincarnation. In many mythologies, reincarnation is the belief that after death, the soul of an individual is reborn into another physical form. Implying this in Kawaki's case, it seems like he has reincarnated the essence of Ishiki or Otsutsuki into Jura, while the other Shinjus properly fit the concept of reincarnation cause their source human beings are literally motionless in tree forms. The curious case of Kawaki and Jura take us a step further than reincarnation. Now to understand their connections better, we will need to figure out the true essence of Kawaki's vortex of fate and how Ishiki and Jura were predetermined to be a part of it. We will be using this statement of Ishiki, which says all genes are predestined or destiny is predetermined by genes, to understand their analogy. First and foremost, the personal goals of Shinjus, which are to devour Boruto, Kawaki and their favorite human, seem to be a callback to this concept. Hidari can be seen asking Jura their purpose and identity, which means they are not certain why they came into existence at first place. However, this instinct of eating a certain person only means that their DNA is pushing them to take such steps, just like how a newborn instinctively turns towards their mother's breast upon birth, seeking nourishment which is programmed into their DNA for survival, or how birds automatically create and position their nest based on the knowledge passed down through their genes for successful reproduction. Similarly, the desire to devour Otsutsukis for Ten Tails and their favorite human for the Shinjus can be classified as a genetic behavior. When it comes to Jura and Kawaki, his will of eating Naruto can have several interpretations. Firstly, if he is actually a pure Ten Tails reincarnation of Ishiki, then it seems like he wants to seek revenge on Kawaki by taking the life of his closest person. Jura doesn't possess the memories of Ishiki, rather it's engraved in his DNA to seek vengeance. Secondly, he mentioned evolving into a final form upon consuming the Otsutsukis, which means he also inherits the will of entering godhood, which is acquired by every celestial being. Now the way he steps in Kawaki's vortex of fate also has several interpretations, but they are equally interesting. First possibility points out an inescapable destiny that Kawaki cannot run from. The meaning of his name turns out to be a vessel, and even Jigen used to refer to him as an empty vessel who needs the karma to fill the void in his heart. Now think of an instance where where Kawaki would go totally helpless against Jura by the fear of losing Naruto forever. A scenario like this would make him submit to the Shinju's will, reducing his role to a vessel again. The second possibility that I believe is also plausible is basically a crucible of transformation which revolves around his predestined genes. Kawaki possessing the DNA of Ishiki is destined to go through a metamorphosis that will make him the destroyer of Shinobi world. As I said a while ago, Shinju demanding him to follow their will in exchange of Naruto's safety is a very plausible twist. However, if he goes on and turns the whole mankind into trees, explaining what ending the Shinobi age means, what purpose will he fulfill by being all alone in this world? Well, this is where the traits of Ishiki come into play. I believe he will be as rebellious and goal-driven as Ishiki, which means he can literally cross every mortal limit to protect Naruto. The Shinobis and those who are weaker than him will be just pawns in his game, just like how Ishiki termed humans as inferior creatures. The desire of keeping Lord Seventh alive will grant him the most insane transformation of all time. He won't want him to wake up and walk around again, but to remain in the frozen state forever as he wholeheartedly looks over him. A paranoid yet obsessive way of loving a close one. An interesting account which explains the case of Kawaki a bit better can be found in Ugetsu Monogatari, meaning the tales of Moonlight and Rain, a collection of 9 supernatural Japanese tales published in 1776. One of the tales tells the story of a widower named Gisaku who becomes obsessed with preserving his wife's beauty after her death. Driven by his twisted love and obsession, Gisaku purchases a magical oil from a monk and applies it on the corpse of his wife. Surprisingly, the oil works, keeping her skin flawless and her features lifelike, making her appear as though she were in a deep sleep. Kawaki seems to be suffering from a similar obsession when it comes to Naruto. While the character of the folklore wanted his dead wife to look alive, he wants to keep his godfather static in his dimension, cause that's the only way to prolong his life expectancy. The dangers outside the realm can easily get Naruto killed, so Kawaki accepts his fate of witnessing his petrified existence forever. Coming back to the Shinjus, the dual consciousness that they all have awakened hints at their potential fates in the story. It's like these creatures have the traits of both Ten-Tails and the human that they devoured. So if the humane side dominates their consciousness, they could become good sometime in the future. However, if the Ten-Tails side would maintain its dominance, then they could become the most ruthless villains. Jura, stemming from the DNA of Kawaki, which in turn belongs to Ishiki, has no hope of redemption. So the only way he could face defeat is by the hands of the other Shinju. And here is something interesting that I noticed. Ishiki faced betrayal by Kawaki when he chose to rebel against his will, and coincidentally, the death of the Otsutsuki was also led by his vessel. The fact that Kawaki possessed his DNA makes him of the same kind as Ishiki, and the interesting part is that Jura and his pairs are referenced as a single existence due to their Ten-Tails origin. So the Shinju boss getting betrayed by someone who shares the same DNA as him is not out of question, only because destiny is predetermined by genetics. So now that we are done with most of the Kawaki theories, I wanna discuss something that I noticed which would either become a plot hole or a mega twist in the story. As I mentioned last time, Soigi could be the medium of transforming Ishiki's chakra into Jura the Shinju. The main reason to assume this is the meaning of his name, which means splice. However, in the same chapter where Soigi became a tree, there was another Jonin who got devoured by a claw grime. So where is the Shinju counterpart of the shinobi? Did Kishimoto forget him, or is the new member about to show up in the Shinju gang really soon? Well, I think the claw grimes or the Ten-Tails were somehow able to be selective when it came to Shinju formation. There could be countless victims of the grimes just because there were 4 platforms in the Ten-Tails realm. Only 4 Shinju came into existence. Or it could be that more of them are being cooked and they all will soon bring a zombie apocalypse to Konoha. Let me know in the comments what you think about the fate of this claw grime victim, and here are some more amazing videos for you to watch. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.